your Saturday edition of Wasatch Weekends. We love getting to be here for you each and every weekend morning, starting on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday at 7 a.m. I'm your host, Maddie Evans. Now, we've got a lot of fun things taking place in our community right now on the Wasatch Back, because you can go enjoy some ski days at Park City for its final weekend of being open, or you can make your way over to Heber Valley, where they are doing the Heber Valley Baby Animal Celebration. And I don't know about you, but anything that has to do with animals, I'm all in. Now, this is taking place from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you can see all of these absolutely adorable baby animals that they're showing pictures of. Now, this is taking place at the Kohler Creamery, which is located in Midway, and so make sure that you go check that out, only because there's going to be piglets, there's going to be little cows, and I think it's the perfect way to get out and enjoy the sunshine that we're seeing and hold some baby animals. We're going to take a look at that local weather forecast, and then we've got a really good show in store for you, as we're going to introduce you to a unique way to do some life coaching, so stay tuned.
This resort report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
A unique and interesting twist on life coaching and how you can personally and professionally develop yourself to feel more confident is a great tool that everyone should use as a resource. And we've got Erin Cutshaw joining me. Erin, you do this in a very specific way, and so I'm going to let you introduce how you do it. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you. I am the owner of a company called the Center for Equus Coaching, where we train people to do coaching with horses. So the horses actually provide a really unique and amazing addition to the life coaching that I do. So I'm also a life coach, but once I learned about adding horses into coaching, I was really hooked. It's an amazing experience to see what horses can bring to a life coaching session.
And so let's talk about what they bring to a life coaching session, because when people think horses, they think these gigantic animals, but little do a lot of people know they're really like dogs.
Yeah, horses, they are gigantic animals for sure, but they're also prey animals. And so they're really always looking for safety. They never they don't want to hurt anybody. They're herd animals that are looking when they're with a person, they're looking for safety with you as well. So they do bring a lot of attention to that, and that makes it really perfect for coaching, because the way that the horse responds is in a way that helps them to feel more safe, or letting you know how safe they feel in that situation. And that feedback from the horse is what creates such an impact for the clients, because the clients can watch the feedback of such a huge animal. It's really hard to miss the feedback from the horse, and see what the feedback is. And that gives them information about themselves and their own energy and how they're showing up.
Which I think is something that I would love to experience, only because I am such a devoted animal lover. And what a unique way to kind of work through those life coaching challenges that sometimes are really scary, because sometimes you have to look inward in a way that you are not used to doing. And so to feel safe and to have this big animal show that it's feeling safe has to be such a wonderful connection.
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful for people. They know that there's an unconditionally loving being with them. They understand that the horses cannot judge them. At the same time, it can be a little vulnerable, because they understand that the horse's feedback is going to be authentic. And so sometimes there's a lot of vulnerability in that, but there's also a lot of power in that vulnerability, and seeing themselves mirrored or reflected in the way the horse is responding is, it's pretty amazing.
Now, when you came up with this idea, what like sparked in your brain to bring in the horses to the life coaching segments or sessions?
Yeah, so actually, I learned it from somebody else. I learned it from there was a woman named Martha Beck who's trains life coaches, and Quell Simpson who got together who was on the horse side, and they combined it. And then I came in within the next year or so and really watched what they were doing as we were creating this idea of combining the two in this way. And that was about 13, 14 years ago now. So as I was watching them do it, I got really interested in what they were doing and watching the horses and how the horses were responding. And over time, we just started to realize that as the horse is free to respond, it's all on the ground. You're just standing next to the horse. As they're free to respond, their responses really are about the energy that we're bringing as we talk about these challenging life circumstances that we have. So for me, it was just a fascinating experience to watch that happen, and eventually that became my whole world. So I do life coaching still, but I also do a lot of work with individuals and companies, and I train people to be able to do work with horses as well.
Which is so unique. This is something that I had honestly never heard of until I had the opportunity to chat with you. Now we're looking at some pictures. And so can you kind of walk us through what some of these pictures are showing? And can you walk us through what a normal session or like a first session when you want to participate as someone who is looking for that life coach, what it's like?
Yeah, so these pictures are showing some experiences that some of our clients and some of our students have with the horses. And when we bring in a client to work with a horse, they don't need to know anything about horses. They don't need to have any prior experience, which is really nice. We teach them how to be safely with the horses, and then we invite them into, say, a round pen. And now a horse and a human are together in the round pen, and they become a herd. And the horse does not think the human is a horse. The horse knows it's a human, but they're still looking for safety in that experience. And then the coach will ask the client about, a topic that they'd like to discuss, just like you would in any life coaching session, something for personal development. And that as that client responds, we will watch the feedback of the horse, and the coach will help the client to notice the feedback from the horse and ask them what they think it means. And, clients often understand what that feedback from the horse is really meaning about their topic. So as the client interprets the horse feedback, they get to learn some things about themselves.
Wow. I've never heard of an experience like this, but again, I love animals more than anything, and so I think this is such a unique way for not only people to look inward, but to see how those inward emotions are being portrayed outward to such a gigantic creature that is so empathetic, and that's what they're known for. And so when you spend time in the equestrian world, that's one of the things that you learn very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, it's different about what we do is a lot of what people do when they're interacting with horses is they're working on training horses to behave in a certain way. And the way we're looking at it is we're looking to the horse's natural responses to give us authentic feedback. So it's a little bit of the opposite. We don't want the horse to do anything they're trained to do. We want them to do what they naturally and instinctively do.
Which is so crazy to think that this is something that people have the opportunity to take the time to do it. Now, we've been talking a lot about what you guys do as coaching and how you guys help people. Now, if someone is interested in becoming a coach and coming to work with you, where you can help train them to help these people and work with these magnificent animals, what's the process for that like?
Yeah, we have trainings twice a year, one that starts in the spring. So we just started one, and one that starts in the fall. And those trainings, you can find them at equuscoach.com. And it is a training that takes about 15 months. We have 12 in-person days and 32 Zoom classes. So there's a lot of training that needs to happen. We have to teach you about being around the horses. We have to teach people about the life coaching skills. And then we have to teach you how to combine the two. So it's a pretty big skill set. And a lot of our students who've gone through love horses and feel like, this is something they never knew existed. And that's because it hasn't existed for, more than about 15 years. and they didn't know it existed, but when they find out about it and they hear about it, it feels like, yes, this is exactly the kind of work I want to be doing. And so if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, you can look at our site at equuscoach.com and check out our next training, which starts in the fall.
Which is so cool, and what a just like amazing career shift that would be for anyone, because not only do you get to help people, which is something a lot of people thoroughly enjoy, but you also get the opportunity to learn these incredible animals. Now, as you guys are watching the animals while they are working with the people who are receiving the life coaching, when you're looking at their natural responses, what are the things that you're looking for?
Yeah, some of the things they would do is we're looking at things like attention and proximity to the client. We're looking for things like relaxation or tension. They always respond uniquely. We can't quite say what those responses will be like, but they have a tendency to move closer to what we call congruence or authenticity, where I kind of think of it as the head, heart, and body are on the same page. A lot of times with humans, our emotions and bodies are saying one thing, but our thoughts are saying something completely different because we aren't aware of what our emotions are. We're not aware of what our bodies are saying. We can be disconnected. And horses don't appear to think that's very fun to be around. So they may move away from something like that. Whereas when people really get clear for themselves and they get aligned or become congruent, the horses have a way of paying attention to that, moving closer to that, focusing on that versus distraction or moving away. So those are some of the things that we see.
And as you guys are working with the clients and the horses, when you're starting to build this relationship between the life coach and the client, so the human to human interaction, where do you guys start with your life coaching process?
Well, one thing we would do first is really talk about our philosophy, and we have something we talk through that's called Why Horses. And then when we talk about why we work with horses and why they're so powerful, as we try to convey that, a lot of times we as Equus coaches convey a lot about who we are as well, because we're talking about why horses have helped us, and we're talking about the things that we've seen that are really important and powerful. And as we do that, it starts to create a container of trust and safety with the human to human as well.
Which is such a unique experience, especially because you guys do have these just giant creatures in there with the people. And I cannot get over this only because I grew up loving horses my whole life and riding horses. And so what a unique way to see them in a different light, because you're right, we do train them to do the things that we want them to do, those services that they're known for doing or that sport that they're known for doing. But then to have them in this light where they just get to be as they are is so different.
It is different. And a lot of people who go through our training have known horses their whole lives, and they will say things like, wow, I never knew I could be around my horses like this, or I never knew that horses had the ability to show us this kind of feedback. And so it's a different way. It's a new way of looking at that relationship with horses. It's really powerful, and it feels really important to me as not just in the coaching, but as we talk about therapy with horses and, therapeutic riding, and people are discovering all the ways in which they can really help us as human beings.
Now, as people are starting their sessions and kind of working their way through, how many sessions do you guys do total normally?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have about 300 Equus coaches, and I would say they all have their own way of doing that. So some Equus coaches like to have a series of 1 or 2 hour sessions where you would come out every week or every couple of weeks and process through something. The format I like to do is more of a half a day, where we spend a half a day talking about a particular issue or topic in that client's life, and then they can go back, integrate that information, and then if they'd like to come back out again, they can.
So definitely different styles based on the coach that you receive through your life coaching sessions. Now, you guys aren't only in one area, you guys are across the country, correct?
Yes, across the country, and we actually have coaches in 10 different countries as well besides the US. So we have people in lots of different places. We have a few people in the Park City area, including me, and in the rest of Utah, and but a lot of people in lots of different states.
which is so cool. And so if people are interested, then they can just go to your website and find the closest coach to them.
They can, yeah. Easy to find.
Now, as you are one of the instructors and one of the coaches, what drew you to this so much?
When I first started, I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't really certain why it was such a draw for me, but I did spend about 20 years in the corporate world, and I think being inside, in fluorescent lights, looking at computers and in that space for so long, there was just something different about talking about these things, but outside in nature with horses, the surroundings are so different. My ability to problem solve was so much stronger when I was out in that environment versus in the environments I had been used to being in. So I think that's partly what really drew me in.
Which I think is such a great point, because I feel like when people are cooped up all the time, they come to that reactionary point where they're not giving themselves the time to actually see the problem in front of them. They're just strictly reacting, and that happens so frequently at those corporate jobs.
Absolutely. And it's super helpful to have somebody who is helping you, so that to have the coach helping you to talk about it and the feedback from the horse, and to notice it all and to slow it all down and really dissect the things that we would typically be reactionary about. And so, I do a lot of work with companies as well, where they bring out their employees or their groups. A manager can bring out their group, and we can work together. We can slow it all down, do individual processing. Then we can do group activities that help people learn how to interact with each other better, how to understand maybe a more common language around energy and how they're showing up and how that might be impacting one another, common roadblocks that they're all encountering, how they can work through those. It's really great for a corporate team.
And you've worked with some really big name corporate teams, which is something that is so fascinating, because you went from that corporate world to now helping that corporate world be a better place.
Yeah, we've worked with a lot of big companies like Wells Fargo and SunTrust Bank, and companies that, the company Intuit, I think recently we worked with, and some smaller groups as well, less known companies, but we've worked with a lot of groups that have found a lot of value in it. They always walk away with some really great insights for them personally, but also for the team. And when we check back in with them later, they report back that they're viewing things differently. So if you have a person in the office that's more challenging, you may start to view them as a horse and wonder how your energy might impact them if you were viewing them that way. And it can really make some great shifts in communication and teamwork.
Erin, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to give us all this great information. Now, one more time, if people are interested in checking out this phenomenal opportunity, where can they go?
You can go to equuscoach.com. It's EQUUSCOACH.com. And you can find a coach near you. You can find our Equus Coach training if that's something you're interested in. You can also contact us if you're interested in doing any kind of group experience or workshop for your team or your family.
Erin, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, and thanks for all the hard work that you do to not only better people personally and professionally, but to help businesses create a better work environment.
Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it.
Make sure that you check out Equus Coaching. It's a great way to kind of shift gears in your personal, your professional, your work environment, in so many different aspects of life. And maybe you're looking for a career shift, well then this is the place to check out. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned. Are you looking for a binge-worthy show that you can just sit down and crush all of it because it's that good? Well, All the Queen's Men is exactly that, and we're here with one of the leading actors, Sky Black. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
I was reading about you online. You've had a very impressive career. You've done some crazy things. You've been on some big stages with some really big names, dancing, and now you're really taking the acting field by storm.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Acting is my love. It's my passion. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be a working actor. That's a feat within itself.
Which it's really impressive, and you play this leading role, and your character is so important to the series. So can you give us a little more information about your character on All the Queen's Men?
I play Amp Addiction Anthony on All the Queen's Men, and Amp is the lens. Amp is the viewer's lens. He brings you into the world because he just got out of prison from being in for a 9-year stint for killing his girlfriend in a car accident that we find out in season 1 because of a drinking problem. He was an athlete. He had a teenage drinking problem, and like I just said, he went into jail for 10 years. So now 9 years, but almost 10 years. It's a long time. So now you're seeing Amp come out of prison, get adjusted to new life. And because his aunt is the leader of Club Eden and this under crime belly of this Atlanta male exotic dancing world, she's been his only savior while he was in prison. So now you're seeing him come out and adapt to life because his aunt is all he has. So he's adapting to life, and he's adapting to this new high, suspenseful turns and roller coaster world.
I think it's going to be a great season 2, and I know a lot of people are really looking forward to it. So what has been your favorite part of working on set so far?
Let's see, my favorite part. I think my favorite part working on set is the not knowing. And I say that I learn my lines, I know all my lines, but I never know what's going to come out. I literally submit to the moment. So that's been my favorite part of being on set. And we work very, very fast. We film about 20 episodes in about 3 weeks. So you just go and you let it go and plow forward. That's been the best part. That's been the best part for me because you never know what's going to happen.
I think it's really fun to work in those fast, up-paced environments for sure, because then you're always going. And it sounds like you have a little bit of freedom with maybe not fully knowing your lines.
Oh, no, I always know my lines. I always know my lines. I have a little trick, and I haven't said this yet. I learn my entire season before I go to work. So by the time I go to work, I'm literally living every single thing. So I know all my lines, but I never know what I'm actually going to do, and I never know how I'm actually going to feel, if that makes sense.
That makes more sense than not knowing your lines. I was like, wow, bold strategy, but I like it. I mean,
No.
ad-libbing is great, and good for you for doing so. Now, if there's a young person watching, or maybe someone who's aspiring to get into the acting game, what would you give them as your one piece of advice?
I would say this, and I know people say it all the time, don't stop. Don't stop and listen to no one but yourself. There are going to be people who are come by and say, hey, don't do it, you shouldn't do it. If it's in your heart, it's your vision, and it was given to you for a reason. Don't stop. Just don't stop.
I think that's a wonderful piece of advice, and I think that really could translate to any dreams that people want to chase. Now, if people are interested in watching and seeing you on the show, where can they watch it?
Tune in to BET Plus. If you don't have the BET Plus app, you can get it just like you can get anything else. But All the Queen's Men, season 1 and season 2, and now the first 4 episodes of season 2B are now streaming on BET Plus.
Sky, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us all this great information, and thank you for the incredible work you do. You make this show very binge-worthy with your lead role.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And stay warm.
Thank you. Make sure that you check out All the Queen's Men. That way you can binge the show, see this incredible actor, and see his acting journey. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show.
This resort report is brought to you by Sun & Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
want to thank you all so much for tuning into your Saturday edition of Wasatch Weekends. We love getting to be here for you all weekend long to help you know some of the wonderful things that are taking place in our community. Now, don't forget to make your way over to the Heber Valley Baby Animal Celebration, only because this is going to be the cutest thing that anyone has ever seen. Now, this is going to take place from 10 in the morning till 5 p.m., so you can get out there while that sun is shining. If you get out there, you love the baby animals, well then you can finish your day skiing or riding, and you can always make your way over to Park City Film, as we've got so many wonderful things that are happening in our community, even though we're starting to slow down and make our way to this off season. I've been your host for your Saturday edition, Maddie Evans, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning.